I've got a problem here on this Volvo V50 with the brake pipe. I want to change this flexible pipe because the metal fitting underneath this rubber sleeve is obviously rusting. It's starting to split the rubber sleeve. I've taken this plastic wheel arch liner out. So that liner fits inside here and it covers this bracket up. So I've taken the liner out and you got easy access to this. To get better access to the brake pipe underneath the car, I've taken a plastic panel away from this area. That's the panel, it fits up there. That's held in place with 3 fixings. So looking up from underneath the car, that's where the connection is that's rusted. That's the flexible pipe. So the steel pipe comes down here and goes up through that gap between the chassis and the fuel tank. You can see there's a clip there clipping the pipe to the chassis. So I pushed a wedge in, so that's given me an extra 5mm. So I think I can just reach up there and get the pipe out of that clip. And then there's one more clip here, easy to get to. And then just there, there's a coupler. So from that coupler back to this point is a piece of steel pipe that I've got to replace. So that's the awkward bit, is getting it out of that clip and then back into the clip. I'm going to be making the new brake pipe out of copper, and to get it to bend round these sharp radiuses I'm going to have to make a former. That's the copper pipe I'm going to be using to make the brake line. It's 4.76mm diameter, which is 3/16. And I'm going to make a former out of this stainless steel. This is 30mm diameter, and I'm going to machine a groove into it. I've got the former made. Now I need to fix a little bracket that comes over the pipe and holds it in the groove. Drilled 2 holes. Now I need to make a plate. It goes across and the plate will clamp the copper tube into that groove. That's the plan. Right, I've made the plate. So that'll screw onto the former and that should clamp the tube into the groove. Right, I've cut a short piece of tube off just to try it. Got it clamped into the former. I need to get this steel brake pipe off now. That's the tricky bit, is getting it out of that clip up there between the fuel tank and the chassis. If I use a flat blade screwdriver and twist it, I should be able to pop it out of that clip, but I don't want the clip to come out of the chassis, so I'll have to hold one screwdriver on the clip and then use the other one on the pipe. And then there's another clip there. That's easy to get at. And then undo that coupler there. I've made a blanking piece to screw in that coupler when I take the pipe out to stop the brake fluid from running out. I've undone the coupler and I've screwed that little blanking piece in to stop the brake fluid from running out. And now I need to get this pipe out. I've got the pipe off. So now I've got to make a new one, exactly the same shape. That's the nut that's seized on the pipe, and to get this flexible hose off, I screwed the flexible pipe off the fitting, as that nut is seized onto the pipe. Starting to make the brake pipe up. I've got the pipe cut off square and deburred, so it's ready for flaring. before putting the flare on. I'll put the fitting on, slide that over the top. This is the holder for the flaring tool. That's the die that forms the flare. The other end, the blunt end, is the stop, which sets the pipe inside here at the right distance. I'll screw the blunt end in first. Part way. Push the pipe until it hits the blunt end. Just tighten those two up finger tight. And then screw the stop in. Right. Tighten the clamping bolts up. Take the stop out. And you need to turn that round to flare it. It needs some special grease on that to help the flare to form. Put that grease in there. And you screw that in all the way. I'll just put a mark on the pipe there, and that'll show me if the pipe slides out of the holder. Screw that in. There's 2 or 3 different types of flare. The flare we need on this pipe is a din flare, or it's also known as a bubble flare. Right, that's tight. That can come out. Undo the clamp. And that's the flare made. And now we need to put a bend in the pipe. start at this end first, I think. So from the end of the flare to the outside of that bend is 55mm. So if I mark 55mm on that pipe, and line the former up with it. That's the first bend, and that should be 55mm from the end of the flare to the outside of that bend. Yeah. Now we need to get the next bend in. Got the pipe bent into shape. That's the original one. That's the new one. Just got to put the last flare on the end. So I need to trim the pipe off there and put a flare on it. I find it better to cut it with a junior hacksaw than with one of these. These tend to close the pipe up. You cut it with a sharp bladed junior hacksaw, you don't get much of a burr on it, and it doesn't close the pipe up. using a needle file just to take the burr off the outside. And then a little round needle file to just take the burr off the inside. And then just finish it off with a drill bit. That drill bit's got a sharper angle on than normal. That's used for countersinking. So that should do it. Just make sure there's no grease on the clamp, or the pipe might slide out. Right, that pipe's positioned in the holding clamp in the right place. I need to turn this forming die around. That's all the way in. And that's the other one. And there's the bends. No kinks. So that should be the same shape. Might need just tweaking a little bit in places. When I was trying to get the pipe out of those clips, the clip up there, the one that's in an awkward position, went and broke. So I've managed to get the broken clip out of the chassis, and now I've got to try and get a new clip back in again. That's the clip that broke. So I've got a new clip. I've got to get that back into the chassis again. So I've welded a little piece of rod on the end of this flat piece of stainless. So I'll put that rod in into the clip like that. And I shall try and push it into the hole in the chassis by leaving against the fuel tank. Right, I managed to get the clip back in. There's the clip up there. And now I've got to get the pipe back in. I've got the brake pipe connected. To get the pipe into that clip up there, I used the other end of this flat bar. That's the end I used to get the clip back into the chassis, and then on the other end I put a bit of a crank in the end of it and I pushed that up there. And just leave it against the fuel tank. Just push the pipe into the clip.